The film opens with Kaya, a young teenager, looking after her brother and father after their mother's death. She fixes her little brother a plate for breakfast and plans on leaving to see her friend, Tessa. Before leaving, she runs into her father and lets him know she's leaving. Kaya takes her jeep and drives a long way to see her friend, who announces having arranged a boy for Kaya, which she doesn't like. Tessa takes Kaya to her boyfriend, Julian, who's a Coast Guard. Julian has his friend, Xandar, over to accompany Kaya on their surprise trip to the islands in the Bahamas through jet skis. Kaya has second thoughts on this unplanned trip since she has a family to look after, but Julian and Xandar assure that they've made the route many times and can guarantee a safe return before sunset. Kaya finds this convincing and agrees to join them. But before that, she video calls her baby brother to let him know about the change in plans. The brother becomes excited to hear about the jet skis and wishes to be there with her, but Tessa shows up and promises the kid to tag along next time. Kaya hangs up and talks to Tessa about not telling her about the trip, to which Tessa has a valid excuse because she knew Kaya wouldn't have come if she'd told her about it. They speed their way to the island, where Julian personally shares his thoughts with Tessa about taking her to Mexico, but she doubts her father will ever let her. Kaya sits alone with Xandar and properly gets to know their initial thoughts. Later, the two couples dive into the sea and discover, under the water, living beings, mostly fish and turtles. During their time, Xandar and Kaya feel a connection, so they share a passionate kiss. On their way back, Julian feels like having fun, so he fastens his jet ski speed without wearing a helmet. Tessa warns her, but he doesn't stop and ends up tripping over the ski after losing balance. Tessa harshly falls and ruptures her ribcage and muscles in the stomach, while the unaware Julian is still laughing in excitement. Simultaneously, Xandar's jet ski runs over Julian unknowingly, causing the jet ski to lose balance and collide with Julian's jet ski. Luckily, everyone is wearing life jackets, so they don't drown. Kaya finds Tessa and helps her swim since she's hurt. Sadly, Julian drowns and vanishes after getting hit, though Kaya finds Xandar and holds him in the water since he's had a serious concussion. As a few minutes pass, the girls spot a boat heading their way and think they're very fortunate to have been found, but little do they know what's actually coming ahead of them. The owner of the boat, Ray, helps Tessa and Xandar get on board, while Kaya helps herself. On the dry deck, we get to see that Xandar has also banged up his knee pretty badly. They tell the man about their tragedy and ask him to call a doctor for immediate help. He goes inside to contact them for help, but instead, he watches them from the windows and waits for their arrival inside. Tessa decides to go in and fetch Xandar some water, but never makes a return. Kaya grows concerned and goes inside to check up on her, but only hears loud thumping noises. Within a moment, Ray comes out of a small cabin and tells Kaya that Tessa is taking a shower upon being asked about Tessa. Kaya doesn't find it odd and stands by the man to talk to him while he drenches a cloth with a sleep-inducing fluid. After assuring Kaya that they're closer to the shore, he puts the cloth on her mouth and knocks her unconscious. He then goes outside to deal with Xandar, but the scenes turn to Kaya, who wakes up after a long nap and finds herself lying next to Tessa in a dirty cellar. She bangs on the hatch and finds it locked. Tessa also finds the word help scratched on the wood, indicating that there have been other victims in here before them. The girls become scared of what's going to happen to them next. The next morning, Ray opens the hatch and lures down a food bucket attached to his rope. While Tessa is too scared and hurt to speak, Kaya goes near the hatch and asks Ray for medical assistance for Tessa and Xandar. She also requests that he let them leave since she has a brother to look after, but all he wants is for the girls to eat and wait for the doctor. Kaya disobeys him and tries to climb up to the hatch, but the man yells at her for not following his command and takes back their food. He warns them that if they break his rule one more time, he'll deprive them of water, and if they do so twice, he'll hurt them. Kaya goes back in utter silence and sits with Tessa with countless worries in her head. While waiting for the doctor, Ray guts a fish and cooks it for himself. When the doctor shows up with a medicine box, he shows him Xandar first, who's still lying on the deck, and later takes him down the cellar to check on Tessa. Despite being scared, the girls trust the doctor and let him make his observation. The doctor also thinks she has either a broken ribcage or hemorrhaging, for which he needs to properly examine Tessa's insides. In a humorous manner, Ray offers the doctor his knife to cut her open, but he doesn't take it seriously. Leaving the girls locked, they go back up in the boat, where the doctor is revealed to be an organ trafficker and Ray, his helper. He pays $5 grand for each, Xandar and Tessa, and asks Ray to keep Kaya fresh for him. He first operated on Xandar, which Kaya sees from the space between the lid and screams at the top of her lungs, while the doctor takes out his vital organs and places them in the freezer for his patients in need. He then wraps Xandar's body in a bag and tucks it in the sea while Ray cleans the deck. Down in the cellar, Tessa cries and blames herself for everything, but Kaya consoles her and plans on using a mattress spring to shave the rust off of another metal lid above their beds to escape. Soon, the doctor and Ray show up to grab Tessa. The doctor takes Kaya's picture, while Ray uses his bare strength to subdue Tessa. He hands her to the doctor and holds Kaya, who's all jumpy. The doctor keeps Tessa waiting till night for some reason. When Ray ties her down on the medical stretcher with a body bag already spread all across it, Kaya manages to shave off the rust and open the metal hatch. She finds a radio signal and tries to ask for help, but it turns out to be of no help. She keeps out of Ray's sight and goes down in the engine room. She comes back up and sees the doctor, who's about to cut Tessa open. She takes a crossbow from the wall and shoots the doctor to rescue Tessa. She opens one of her hands, but the doctor catches her and pins her to the ground while vigorously choking her. Tessa, thankfully, unties her other hand and uses the doctor's scalpel to relentlessly stab the back of his neck. When Ray spots the dying doctor, he realizes Kaya's made it out. He finds his motorboat still intact with the main boat, so he figures the girls are hiding on the boat. He quickly pokes and flattens the motorboat's tube so it is of no use and starts looking around, only to find the girls swimming their way to the doctor's fancy yacht, which is anchored down at a reachable distance. He runs to turn on his boat, but it appears that Kaya has pulled out all the wires. Meanwhile, Kaya has trouble swimming her way to the yacht, since she has to pull the severely hurt Tessa in a floating ring along with her. The waves are also in the opposite direction, pushing them back to Ray's boat, so Tessa begs Kaya to let her stay back and swim alone to the yacht. Kaya stays determined and keeps flapping her arms until she gets to the yacht. There, she has trouble turning it on, so she contacts through the radio signal and finally gets linked with the US Coast Guard station, where a female Coast Guard directs her to find the GPS beacon. While finding it, she finds the doctor's laptop, on which she sees herself and more girls for sale on the dark web. She quickly alerts this to the female guard, who emphasizes turning on the brake on, either manually or having it submerged in water, to automatically turn it on. Kaya has trouble turning it on manually, so when she goes to throw it in the ocean, she hears Ray's steps, who has swam all the way from his boat. She quickly hides in the cabin, but when the Coast Guard speaks on the radio, he goes after her. Kaya outsmarts Ray by climbing up the hatch and making her way to the deck, but he doesn't take the bait and catches her from behind. He subdues her and stabs the side of her stomach, while the Coast Guard keeps asking for Kaya's response. Kaya delicately puts her hand on Ray's face to distract him, and then shoots a flare gun in his face. The inside of his mouth sets on fire, causing him a horrible death. Despite losing a lot of blood, she manages to throw the beacon in the water, but sadly, it falls near the edge, making her hopeless and faint. At night, the strong current in the waves causes the yacht to move, due to which the beacon falls into the ocean and turns itself on. The Coast Guards trace the location and find the yacht by the next morning. They load Kaya into the helicopter to get her ashore faster. In the helicopter, she dies momentarily. Back in the ocean, they find Tessa floating inside the ring, still alive. They rescue her and have her load on another helicopter, which takes her ashore. Miraculously, Kaya is resurrected and landed ashore, where Kaya's father and brother unite with her before she gets put inside an ambulance. Tessa's helicopter also lands, and the paramedics load her in the ambulance next to Kaya's. The film ends as the two friends spot each other getting put into ambulances next to each other. I hope you liked the story recap. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.